Anthony, and today I'm teaching a demonstration lesson, I'm giving a demonstration lesson from the Headway Plus book here at Al Jazeera International Academy in Riyadh. And today's lesson focuses on charitable organizations. There are many charities throughout the world, and these charities, what they do is they raise funds for poor people or people in countries that have suffered major earthquakes, floods, even fires. An earthquake is when the ground shakes. Now, when I was in Turkey, I experienced a massive earthquake. This was in 1997. It was a massive earthquake which went from Izmit, the other side of Istanbul, right the way to Ankara, which is several hours away on the train. So this shows you the impact of this earthquake. And I believe it was something like 7.5 on the Richter scale. It was a massive earthquake. And people were camping outside, even the armed forces, they were camping outside because of the devastation that was caused by this earthquake. And then there were thousands of aftershocks. An aftershock is when the ground just shakes for maybe 1 or 2 seconds. And I was walking around after 2 or 3 weeks, and there was this shaking, and it actually made my legs go like jelly. And I got fed up with this, and I actually travelled to Greece, to Athens. This was like 3 weeks later. And lo and behold, there was another earthquake, this time in Athens. And this was more centralized, and it was something like 6 on the Richter scale. Not quite as powerful as the one in Turkey, but still enough to do a lot of damage. And I remember when I was in Athens, I was staying at a hotel on the 7th floor, and I was looking out of the window, and I saw a police officer trying to organize the traffic, the flow of the traffic, because the earthquake had severed all of the electricity. And I was thinking to myself, well, he's really earning his money today. Anyway, then I, some years later, traveled to Saudi Arabia, and again I was only here a month or 2, and there was a massive flood. And the flood level, the water came up to here on me. And about 103 people drowned in Riyadh. Yeah, so it was devastating, actually. So I've experienced a lot of these devastating situations. And there's organizations such as the Red Cross who raise funds, and they also send blankets and food parcels to areas affected by such devastations. As I say, this lesson is about these charitable organizations which help in these disaster-stricken areas. So we'll just have a look at this for a moment. Here we have some base adjectives. Now, an adjective describes a noun, but your first adjective is the base. This is the base adjective. You can make your adjectives more stronger if you feel that you need to do that. So, for example, we have enormous wealth. And enormous wealth, as it says on the board, is very big wealth. And essential research is very important research. So, if I just push this up just a touch here, we have to match these base adjectives with the strong adjectives. So we're matching them up. Let's put that there. Okay. So, Mr. Lou, tired as the base adjective, what do you think that would go with here?
Exhausted.
Exhausted. So let's match that up. Tired with exhausted. Okay. Frightened.
Astonished or amazed.
I think possibly terrified.
Terrified.
Let's go there with that. Terrified. Tasty. What do you think?
Delicious.
Delicious. So tasty would go with delicious. There it is.
Awful, terrible, disgusting.
Horrible, awful, terrible, disgusting. Hungry.
Starving.
Starving. Angry.
Furious.
Angry goes with furious. Dirty.
Filthy.
Dirty goes with filthy. Surprised.
Astonished or amazed.
Astonished or amazed. Yes. Happy.
Thrilled, delighted.
Thrilled, delighted. Funny.
Hilarious.
Hilarious. So there we have our base adjectives connecting with our strong adjectives. Let's just go up. Now we can make adjectives more extreme with adverbs such as very and absolutely. Their house is very big. Their garden is absolutely enormous. We can use very only with base adjectives. Very tired, not very exhausted. We can use absolutely only with strong adjectives. Absolutely wonderful, not absolutely good. We can use really with both base and strong adjectives. Really tired, really exhausted. Now I want to just check that we got these correct. So we'll just go here. So, here we have the base adjectives and the strong adjectives. So the base adjective, tired, exhausted. So here, if you listen for the stress, exhausted. The stress here, frightened. The stress is here, terrified. Okay? So, Mr. Lou, could you read the next one for us?
Good, great. Our stress is early and wonderful. Our stress is in the middle and fantastic. In the middle and superb.
So, we have good, great, and here we have the stresses on the W, wonderful. And here we have the stress just here before the T, fantastic. And here the stress is before the P, superb. Okay? And what about the next one, Lou?
We have tasty with our stress early and delicious with our stress mid-tier.
So the stress here is on the T, or just before the T, tasty. And the stress here, delicious. What about this one, Lou?
We have bad. Then we have horrible with our stress early on. Awful with our stress early on. Terrible with our stress early on. And disgusting with the stress after the first syllable.
So we have bad as our base adjective, and the strong adjectives with the stress here, horrible, awful, terrible. But here the stress is before the G or the G sound. Disgusting, disgusting. What about this one, Lou?
We have hungry with our stress early on, and starving with our stress early on.
So here we have hungry, the stress is just before the H, hungry. And here the stress is just before the S, starving. What about this one, Lou?
We have angry with our stress early on, and furious with our stress early on.
Yeah. So here we have angry, the stress is here, angry. And then we have furious, the stress is here, furious. What about this one, Mr. Lou?
We have dirty with our stress early on, and filthy with our stress early on.
So the stress is here at the beginning, dirty. And again, at the beginning, filthy. What about this one, Mr. Lou?
Surprise with our stress after our first syllable, Astonished with our stress in our first syllable, and amazed with our stress after the letter A.
Yes. So here we have the stress. Surprised. Stress. Astonished. Stress. Amazed. And this one, Mr. Luke?
We have happy with our stress early on, then we have thrilled, then we have delighted with our stress after the DE.
Thank you. This is stress. Happy. Thrilled. Delighted. And this one?
We have funny with our stress early on, and hilarious with our stress after EHI.
Yes, here's the stress on funny. Funny. Hilarious. So that's all about stress in the English language, with the difference between the base adjectives and the stronger adjectives. Now, I would just like to ask Mr. Luke, what does tired mean?
Tired means not having a lot of energy.
Yes, as in exhausted. So here we have the base adjectives, and their stronger adjectives actually give you an idea of what they mean. Now we're going to move forward. Now we're going to listen to the conversations, and we have to decide what they are about, and we're going to write down the adjectives and adverbs that we hear.
Tape script 8.6. 1.
I finished my book,
What was it called?
A Walk in the Park.
Was it good?
It was absolutely superb.
2.
Is it true that Liz won the competition?
Yes! She won a new car.
Oh, I bet she was really happy.
Happy? She was absolutely thrilled.
3.
When I got home, I had to tell my parents that I'd failed the exam.
Oh no! What did they say?
My mum was cross, but my dad was really furious.
4.
We went out for dinner at that new restaurant last night.
Oh, what was the food like?
Well, the main course was really tasty, and as for the dessert, it was absolutely delicious.
5. We had a wonderful time at the beach last weekend.
Oh yeah, was the weather hot?
It was absolutely gorgeous. 6.
How long was your flight?
14 hours.
14 hours? You must be really tired.
You bet. I'm absolutely exhausted.
I'll play it just one more time, so to make sure everybody's got it.
Tape script 8.6. 1.
I finished my book,
What was it called?
A Walk in the Park.
Was it good?
It was absolutely superb.
2.
Is it true that Liz won the competition?
Yes! She won a new car.
Oh, I bet she was really happy.
Happy? She was absolutely thrilled.
3.
When I got home, I had to tell my parents that I'd failed the exam.
Oh no! What did they say?
My mum was cross, but my dad was really furious.
4.
We went out for dinner at that new restaurant last night.
Oh, what was the food like?
Well, the main course was really tasty, and as for the dessert, it was absolutely delicious.
5. We had a wonderful time at the beach last weekend.
Oh yeah, was the weather hot?
It was absolutely gorgeous. 6.
How long was your flight?
14 hours.
14 hours? You must be really tired.
You bet. I'm absolutely exhausted.
So number 1 was about the book. It was good. In fact, it was absolutely superb. What about number 2? Did you get that? No?
I heard all of it, but if it's 12 things, then off the top of my head I wouldn't remember all 12 just by hearing it.
Well, what
twice.
do you remember?
I think I would need to actually study it for various time.
Okay. What about number 3? Did you get number 3?
Like I said, if it's 12 things, I'm just not.
Okay, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to look at it individually now. Here's the key. So the second was someone who won a competition. Was she happy? She was absolutely thrilled.
She won a car.
Yes. Failing an exam. My mum was cross, but my dad was absolutely furious. A meal at a restaurant was really tasty. Absolutely delicious. A weekend at the beach. It was wonderful weather. It was hot. In fact, it was absolutely gorgeous. A long plane journey. I was tired. In fact, I was absolutely exhausted, is what the man said. Now, here we have three separate charities. The Red Crescent charity, the Worldwide Wildlife Fund, and the Save the Children Fund. These charities, they help people, they help countries, they do what they can when, as I said before, there's an earthquake, a fire, people are starving hungry, or if there's a flood, like we saw here in Riyadh a few years ago. So, I'm going to play the recording, and hopefully we will be able to establish what goes here, who or what the charity tries to help, and how the charity helps.
Tape script 8.7. Charity appeals. 1. Red Crescent. The Red Crescent is an international organisation whose aim is to protect human life and health. It helps people who are in trouble because of natural disasters, such as floods and earthquakes. It provides temporary shelter, food, water, and medical help to disaster victims, searches for people who are missing, and exchanges messages between members of families who are separated. When a disaster is over, the organisation works to help countries recover and take steps to prevent the problem happening again. 2. WWF.
WWF is the world's largest and most effective conservation organisation. It is dedicated to protecting wild animals around the world and the places where these animals live. WWF directs its conservation efforts towards 3 global goals. Firstly, it works to save endangered species, like the black rhino or the giant panda. Secondly, it works to establish and manage national parks and wildlife reserves around the world. Thirdly, it works to address global threats to our environment, such as pollution and climate change.
3. Save the Children. Save the Children helps children by supporting programs that involve community members in improving their day-to-day lives, such as maternal and child healthcare services, education for all children, and income-earning opportunities for women. Save the Children also uses its global experience and research to help children and families during natural disasters and times of war, as well as to advocate for government policy changes that will benefit all children, including future generations.
I'll play it one more time, just to make sure that we've got it.
Tape script 8.7. Charity appeals. 1. Red Crescent. The Red Crescent is an international organisation whose aim is to protect human life and health. It helps people who are in trouble because of natural disasters, such as floods and earthquakes. It provides temporary shelter, food, water, and medical help to disaster victims, searches for people who are missing, and exchanges messages between members of families who are separated. When a disaster is over, the organisation works to help countries recover and take steps to prevent the problem happening again. 2. WWF.
WWF is the world's largest and most effective conservation organisation. It is dedicated to protecting wild animals around the world and the places where these animals live. WWF directs its conservation efforts towards 3 global goals. Firstly, it works to save endangered species, like the black rhino or the giant panda. Secondly, it works to establish and manage national parks and wildlife reserves around the world. Thirdly, it works to address global threats to our environment, such as pollution and climate change.
3. Save the Children. Save the Children helps children by supporting programs that involve community members in improving their day-to-day lives, such as maternal and child healthcare services, education for all children, and income-earning opportunities for women. Save the Children also uses its global experience and research to help children and families during natural disasters and times of war, as well as to advocate for government policy changes that will benefit all children, including future generations.
Who or what does Red Crescent try to help?
Countries that have seen natural disasters.
Countries that have seen natural disasters, yeah. And how does the charity help these countries?
Providing food and shelter and information to people who've lost their homes, their ability to find food and to get information across their loved ones.
Okay, thank you. What about the World Wildlife Fund?
Animals, endangered species.
So they try to help animals and endangered species. What is an endangered species?
It's a type of animal that is going or is in danger of becoming extinct. There just aren't very many of them left anymore.
Okay, so how does the charity help these endangered species?
Advocates on their behalf.
Okay, thank you. And what about the Save the Children Fund? How do they help? Who do they help?
They help young people.
They help young people, yeah. And how do they help young people?
Also advocating for them, connecting with community leaders, trying to find healthy environments for them to grow up.
Trying to find healthy environments for them when they grow up, if they're from a very poor background. If we look at this picture here, just go here. So what does this picture tell you, Mr. Liu?
Looks like a young person with a lot of books, maybe going off to school, doesn't have a backpack.
Yeah, quite possibly, yeah. Young person going off to school, possibly doesn't have a bag to put her books in. What about this picture? What does that tell you?
Looks like a group of Red Crescent people who are constructing some kind of shelter.
Yeah. So they're probably building houses for people, homeless people, in poor countries maybe. And then if we come down to here, what does this tell you here, this picture here?
Looks like also some Red Crescent people who are going to be delivering food in the back of that truck.
Yeah, yeah, it certainly does. And what about this? What does this picture tell you?
A beautiful rhinoceros, an endangered species that
Yeah.
will be being protected by WWF.
Yes, a beautiful rhinoceros, an endangered species being protected by WWF. So here we have the charts. Number 1, Red Crescent. It helps disaster victims. Could you just read that for us, Luke?
Provides temporary shelter, food, water, and medical help. Searches for missing people and works to help countries recover.
What does it mean? Helps to, what does it mean? Works to help countries recover. What does that mean?
Maybe helping them provide social services, helping them rebuild infrastructure, helping them come up with policy ideas that
Okay.
will help them rebuild the areas that were damaged by natural disasters.
Thank you. What about number 2?
Wild animals around the world, the places where these animals live, that's what's protected. And they do so by working to save endangered species like the black rhino or the giant panda. They work to establish and manage national parks and wildlife reserves around the world. They work to address global threats to the environment, such as pollution and climate change.
Okay. And what is climate change, Lou?
Climate change is the fear that the planet Earth is getting warmer and warmer because industry is releasing carbon dioxide into the ozone layer, in the atmosphere.
Thank you. Let's go down here. Save the Children. Would you like to read that one for us?
They advocate for children around the world. They help to improve health care, education. They help women get jobs. They help children and families in natural disasters and war.
And according to yourself, Lou, what would you say are natural disasters?
Natural disasters I would think of as hurricanes, earthquakes, tornadoes.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, maybe major forest fires that were caused by lightning.
Forest fires caused by lightning. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, thank you for that. Here we're going to look at making suggestions. Matt is bored, and Paul is broke. To be broke is to have no money. My name is Paul, and I really am broke, so I have no money. Now, we have to decide, are they talking to Paul, or are they talking, this is Paul, or are they talking to Matt? So, number one, M, let's go shopping, so they're talking to Matt. If I were you, I'd get a better job. Are they talking to Matt or Paul?
I would say they're talking to Paul.
Yes, because he's broke. If I were you, Paul, I'd get a better job. And that's exactly what I intend to do. Oh, this isn't working too well, is it? But we got the idea. Okay, so here we are now. Why don't you ask your parents?
Paul.
Paul, because sometimes young people ask their parents to lend them money. So that was Paul. I should have put P, shouldn't I, really? I'll leave that because it's not lined up. Okay. You ought to ask your boss for a pay rise. Are they talking to Paul or Matt?
Paul.
They're talking to Paul because a pay rise means more money. Then Paul would not be broke. I don't think you should go out so much. Who are they talking to?
Paul.
They're talking to Paul because he's broke. He goes out spending his money, and now he's broke. Why don't we go for a walk?
Matt.
They're talking to Matt because Matt is bored. Okay? And don't forget, you cannot say I am boring, because then you're talking about yourself. You can only say I am bored. If you think somebody else is boring, you can say, hey, you're boring, but I'm bored. Let's go to the next one. You'd better get a loan from the bank. Are they talking to Paul or Matt?
Paul.
They're talking to Paul. How do you know they're talking to Paul?
Because he's broke, so he needs money. He might try to get it from the bank.
Because he's broke, he needs money. And shall we see what's on television? They're talking to Matt because
He's bored.
he's bored, yes. That's right. So, suggestions for Matt. Let's go shopping. Why don't we go for a walk? Shall we see what's on TV? And now, Lou, if you'd like to read the suggestions for Paul.
If I were you, I'd get a better job. Why don't you ask your parents? You want to ask your boss for a pay rise? I don't think you should go out so much. You better get a loan from the bank.
Very good, thank you very much for that. Listen to the conversations. Notice how Matt and Paul accept and reject suggestion.
Tape script 8.8. Matt and Anthony. I'm bored. Well, it's a nice day. Why don't we go for a walk? No, I don't feel like it. I'm too tired. You need to get out. Let's go shopping. Oh no, I'd rather do anything but that. Okay. Shall we see what's on television? That's a good idea. Do you want to watch the news? I'd rather watch the football. Paul and Mike.
Oh, I'm broke, and I don't get paid for 2 weeks. What am I going to do?
If I were you, I'd get a better job.
Oh, why didn't I think of that? Thanks, Mike. That's a big help.
Well, you'd better get a loan from the bank then.
No, I can't. I owe them too much already.
Why didn't you ask your parents? They'd help you out.
No, I'd rather not.
I'd rather work out my problems for myself.
You ought to ask your boss for a pay rise.
Good idea, but I've tried that and it didn't work.
Oh, well, I suppose I could lend you some money.
Really? Oh, that would be great. Thanks, Mike. You're a real mate.
Yeah, well, okay then. But really, I don't think you should go out so much. That way, you won't be broke all the time.
Yeah, I know. You're right.
We'll just play that one more time.
Tape script 8.8. Matt and Anthony. I'm bored.
Well, it's a nice day. Why don't we go for a walk?
No, I don't feel like it. I'm too tired.
You need to get out. Let's go shopping.
Oh no, I'd rather do anything but that.
Okay. Shall we see what's on television?
That's a good idea.
Do you want to watch the news?
I'd rather watch the football. Paul and Mike.
Oh, I'm broke, and I don't get paid for 2 weeks. What am I going to do?
If I were you, I'd get a better job.
Oh, why didn't I think of that? Thanks, Mike. That's a big help.
Well, you'd better get a loan from the bank then.
No, I can't. I owe them too much already.
Why didn't you ask your parents? They'd help you out.
No, I'd rather not. I'd rather work out my problems for myself.
You ought to ask your boss for a pay rise.
Good idea, but I've tried that and it didn't work.
Oh, well, I suppose I could lend you some money.
Really? Oh, that would be great. Thanks, Mike. You're a real mate.
Yeah, well, okay then. But really, I don't think you should go out so much. That way, you won't be broke all the time.
Yeah, I know. You're right.
So we noticed how they accepted and rejected suggestions. That part of the lesson was all about accepting and rejecting suggestions. A suggestion is when you say something to somebody like, let's go for a meal, let's go to the park. And if they want to accept, they might say, oh, that would be nice if they're going to go for a meal. Let's go to the park? Well, no, I don't think so. So then they're rejecting the suggestion. I think really now that actually brings me to the end of this part of our demonstration lessons from the Headway class, and I'd like to thank you for attending the demonstration lesson, and I know that you're all going to do very well with your English language studies, so thank you from me here at Al Jazeera International Academy in Riyadh. Thank you very much.